what is frequency work and how does it influence our lives?
Frequency work is the science of integrating your physical self with the unseen side of you that is limitless, your true potential. In my opinion, one of the fastest ways to tap into your true potential with the abilities that I've cultivated through working with my teacher and really just committing myself to this practice. I can tap into the world consciousness. I can look at the files, the frequency files of topics, companies, people that I've never met before, that I have no idea about, and I can literally see their infrastructure. And we're awakening. Big time. And you see huge shifts around the world, like the Queen, she passed away a couple of months ago, I think it was. Really big shifts internally. And I was actually watching the funeral service and like the induction of the King. And it was really interesting because I'm sitting there with my grandma, right? And she's grown up loving the Queen and loving the royals. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is interesting. And I've looked at her, I'm like, isn't it crazy that we're still doing this? You look inside the palace and the induction of the King and it's like, it's literally a step back in time, because it is. At a frequency level, there's actually a timestamp in those places. They haven't refreshed. It's like you were using a laptop from the 1990s now, or like you still have the first phone. It's like, wait a second, we need to refresh our technology to keep up with the times. Anyway, it was really fascinating. I might just read into the King actually, because that's just what shows up. And whether I'm right or wrong in terms of future predictions, we'll see. But when I was watching him, it just seemed as if he was going to do something very different. There was something ticking, and just reading into him now, King Charles, I think it's Charles. King Charles. For him, like a lot of kids, his mum was very suppressive, being the Queen. Very controlling. You got to do things a certain way. I mean, it doesn't take a scientist to kind of figure that one out, because it makes sense, right? You're in the royal family, you have to do things a certain way. So for him, this is actually an opportunity now. Whether he takes it or not, we'll see. But it's a cool opportunity for him to do things his way. And I think it's going to happen because even with Harry, from what I'm seeing, like they're really close, but there's also friction. There's kind of like some friction because even Meghan, anyway, there's some stuff going on with Meghan and Harry. But that's my opinion. I haven't looked into the tabloids. I haven't looked into any of this stuff. Like I don't follow the royals. Just looking into it though, she's kind of like clawing into Harry, so that's not going to end well. But yeah, we'll see some changes. We may see some changes with King Charles. It's an opportunity for him to take it. Whether or not he does or not, I don't know. But it just seems like there'll be a few changes within his personal cabinet as well. Like his personal advisory board. There's going to be some like ruffled feathers as we awaken, because the old has to fall away. This is literally what this time is about. It's about the old way of doing things and say creating ourselves. It's falling away. So companies, people, religions, anything that came from the ingredients of the old has to redefine itself or fall away, right? So as the new comes in, we have new ingredients. So it's kind of like, imagine you're in a kitchen and you've got a recipe to bake a cake and you have these ingredients, but the ingredients of the cake weren't ideal. Instead of sugar, you've got salt. No matter what you create in the world, and this can be, for you listening as an individual, but as a world consciousness, right? A lot of control, a lot of suppression, dark manipulation, and just not good stuff. The salt in the cake recipe. No matter what you cook, it doesn't matter what the recipe is. It could be grandma's best recipe, or it could be Gordon Ramsay's 5-star cake. It's going to taste shit. Because salt is the ingredient that was meant to be, say, a sugar or some sort of sweetener. So now what's happening is that every single cake that had that ingredient of salt, it has to be thrown out. It can't be used anymore. Everything that you've created, every cake that you've created in your life, as a human race that we've created, it can't survive because we're not using that ingredient anymore. So either a company will shift entirely, or shift a little bit, or shift a lot, because we're using a new ingredient, which is a natural organic sweetener, whatever it might be, to actually make a tasty cake, being your life, being, human consciousness. It's a really exciting time for people that go inward and connect to that space. A lot of people are doing it unconsciously, people that I know, and you might even be experiencing it yourself. Like shit's just changing for you. You might just have a desire to fuck it, just quit your job. Your relationship might expand, or it might create some friction, or there are just things that are shifting for you. Nothing has really happened, but it's the frequency, it's the consciousness that is that's here, that's coming through. And that's why people's lives are changing. And for those that struggle with change and are more fearful and are more control-based, it's going to be pretty rough. Really, really rough. Because it's like, no, I want to stay in the old. But guess what? You can't. You just can't. You hear that saying, it's like you rise with the tide or you're going to drown. And that's literally what it is. So...